What is up, risk takers? Welcome to the Kill Pete strategy. I am Pete. I'm a top player in Risk Global Domination. I have a daily release on YouTube. I'm doing weekday streams on Twitch. And if you are interested in getting better at the game of Risk, I invite you to subscribe to my channels. Come along the ride with me. We are doing another episode of the Kill Pete strategy Discord Q&A. What I've done is I've recorded a bunch of Europe Advanced Progressive Capitals where I play the game, so I can talk to you and focus on the answering the questions. You still get to watch your very favorite beloved meta settings while we do the Q&A. So without further ado, let's start with game number 1. While we get back to the rhythm of the questions and the answers, and where did I end? Oh, but before we do, I just wanted to show you guys one thing, which is just absolutely fantastic to me, okay? This is special in a way that I hope you guys can understand why I find it special. And let me just share this little moment with you here. To know that I've made even a small impact on children's life is nothing short of surreal. So I hope and I consider and think in the back of my mind about being careful with what I say and trying to embody the man that these kids' behavior might be modeling.
Risk takers. What is up?
Look at this guy.
Takers.
What is up? Risk takers. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you so much for sharing that with me, Mr. Voice Stark. Appreciate you. And now the risk. What is up, risk takers? You know, it's hard to imagine the scale of the impact, right? Having millions of hours of your mind be public. So this is why I'm focusing on trying to speak honestly, speak as wisely as I can, speak as kindly as I can, remind you guys how much I love you, try and put out as much positive energy as I can. I'm only human, certainly not perfect, and nobody is. I don't think it's reasonable to expect that, but we try our best, and that's all we can hope for. And with that in mind, our next question, the last question. Where was it? Was it Waffles? No. It was Bagel. Miss Bagel. Hello, Pete. Now that I finally graduated college, bachelor's in computer science, minor in math. Awesome. I can ask the occasional question again. What academic topic have you seen recently that you wanted to share with the class? I mean, it's probably something in philosophy. If we're getting right into the nitty gritty, you guys know how I am. I focus a ton on philosophy and not so much on anything else. So, but as far as like accessible philosophical topics, like the what is essential, what is important, I've been thinking a lot more about questions of identity, questions of acceptance, how we show people we love them, how we show true compassion, not coddling people, but encouraging them to blossom and be their whole, complete, and true self, whatever that means. That's kind of what I've been thinking about. I don't know if that actually qualifies as an academic, but as an academic topic, or if it answers your question at all, but that's very much where my mind is at in terms of levels of thought. We got a question from Becky with the good hair. How many Pete's could the Peteman beat if the Peteman could beat Pete's? There's only one Peteman. And I cannot be beat. I can Pete and repeat with the best of them, but never beaten. Unlike you, Becky, who gets stopped on the regular Peteman beats meats. What are we talking, sausage or what? Exclamation mark stop Becky in the chat. Becky has not been stopped 60 times. Okay. Open Tanya would like to know, hey, Peteman, I've heard you talk about the concept of Plato's Philosopher King as a viable alternative. Viable, no. Preferable, not viable, different. This is an ideal. This is an aspirational, not. The problem with the Philosopher King is self-interest, right? The problem with the notion of the Philosopher King is that human beings are imperfect and greedy and selfish. So the presumption that someone in that sort of position of power would be an altruist enough to be a benevolent leader is the big if there, right? So let me actually read Open's question before we we answer it. I've heard you talk about the concept of Plato's philosopher king as a viable alternative to representative government. What do you think of Karl Popper's analysis and criticism on the subject? If might makes right, as we've discussed in the philosophy forum, Popper states that power has to be distributed so that there isn't too much power in one hand. What are your thoughts on this? Brilliant. Brilliant question, very well put. My thoughts on this are simply, we need, not we want, not we should, we need to design a system of distributed decision-making that empowers everyone equally, because of the concept of leadership, individual leadership-based decision-making in 2023, in a world as complicated as we have today. Having a tribal chief in charge of corporations as a CEO, having a president or a prime minister in charge of things as complicated as nations, is suicidally insane. Okay? That's my position on that. I talk about systems design, and I don't shut the fuck up about it, because we need to figure out a solution to this problem, and we need to design a structure by which we can figure out those solutions. Thank you, Open, for the question. I think it was very well put. Don't move until you see it. I think the closest we got was Marcus Aurelius, and he was still far too committed to making his son the next emperor, and doing so almost ruined the empire. Yeah, I think, and that was 2,000 years ago, nearly. So if we're talking about distributed decision making, my most recent idea is, instead of a representative, have something akin to the cell phone party. So a digital direct democracy where the constituents, I mean, ideally this would work for the whole nation, but you have to prove the concept, where the constituents are enfranchised to vote on everything, not just who represents them, which I think is so archaic and out of date given the level of communication technology we have today. Okay, our next question is from Captain Tony. Hey, Pete, I was wondering your opinion / thoughts on the rising fires happening in Canada. As an Albertan, I've seen how bad wildfires can get firsthand. I mention this because New York looks like an apocalypse, and it's popular in the news right now. Yeah, we got a lot of smoke last week. We did. And I work outside too, so what is my opinion? What is the actual question? What's my opinion and thoughts? My thoughts are that it is likely that anthropogenic climate change is occurring, and it would be wise to not accidentally modify our own environment. If we sought to do so, the very minimum expectation of that would be that we would do it intentionally. That's my thought. You are a super interesting dude. I feel like we'd have some great conversations. This is what I try to do with the show. Don't move till you see it. I try to talk about ideas in an open, honest, direct way, free of as much bias as we can stumble upon. Everyone has a slant. Everyone has a bias. I know that. But opinions are never wrong. They're just opinions, right? You're free to have them. Be free. I love freedom. And I love people. So you can believe whatever you want to believe, any color, any creed, any flag, any religion. It's all good. It's all love. As long as, I have to give that liberty, as long as your liberty does not infringe upon the liberty of any other. Thank you, Xanifer26, with the Prime sub. Thank you so much. Pete, do you think there's a difference between hate speech and free speech? Not really, but you can't jump the line, Frogalicious. You got to ask in the Q&A. Not really, but you got to ask in the Q&A. Is this ranked or viewer what? This is a ranked game that I pre-recorded so that I can have the conversation. Okay. Captain Tony also would like to know, hey, Pete, have you ever considered the fact that society, whilst being modern, has a lot of archaic practices written into the cultural ethosphere? It's actually a word I don't know the definition of. What is ethosphere? An example being Colosseum and arena fights, being translated into Olympic sports, and other forms of what we consider distraction media. Also, do you subscribe to the notion /belief/theory that a lot of different cultures' pastime activities tend to lean into things that dissuade a population growing into a creative and or free thinking people? Great question. I'm going to look up the word ethosphere before I answer it, just so I hopefully understand fully what you're saying. Definition. The word ethosphere The tangible biosphere and subsequent epiphenomenal emergence of human consciousness and intelligence. I don't think that's the definition. Okay, so I don't fully know what the word means, but I'm going to try and answer your question. So there's an intersubjectivity problem going on. Intersubjectivity is a fancy way of saying agreement. Human beings have to agree. So in order to accomplish that agreement, we tend towards things like the bread and circuses that you were pointing at, right? The Roman Colosseum and arena fights, evolving into the modern day sport and distraction media. Obviously, those in power have a vested interest in staying in power. That's not a conspiratorially minded position. It makes a ton of sense because you would do the exact same thing if you were in that position. So, given that, how do we, I think, if I can digest the crux of your question, yes, I do subscribe to the notion, belief theory that a lot of different cultures' pastime activities tend to lean into things that dissuade a population growing into a creative and free-thinking people. But what do you do about that, right? If you love free speech, if you love free thought, as I do, and you happen to sit on a very small soapbox and pontificate about whatever you can talk about, and you have an audience listening to you, then what do you choose to talk about? And I really do like to hammer the point home that being free thinking for yourself. Don't listen to me because I'm saying things. Listen to me because what I say resonates with you because it is true, because it happens to be logical, right? That's the team I'm on. I don't fly any flag. I don't split people into any groups. We are all one. We are all love, but I am on team logic. This is the bedrock of our understanding of reality. If it is logically true, if it makes sense, if your positions are consistent. And yeah, look at this. Could be very easily argued to be a pastime activity, right? A lot of people are hanging out with me while they're doing other things, trying to get better at risk, maybe. Hopefully I open your mind a little bit on subjects that you might not have thought about. Are women overrated? Women are neither overrated nor underrated. They are exactly accurately rated because they happen to be people, as are you. These sentences, sometimes I read them and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Our next question is from Bagel. And Bagel would like to know, hey, Pete, have you ever heard of a mega game before? It's board game related, so I just wanted to bring to your attention as I think it would be right up your alley. Shut up and sit down. Okay, we'll watch. How long is this video? 43 minutes. Okay, I'll have to answer this one in greater detail once I watch the video, Bagel. But suffice to say, no, I've never heard the term mega game. Our next question in the priority Q&A is from Quarantined. So, guys, I know you guys have a lot of ideas that you want to discuss in the chat, in my YouTube comments. The way you get your questions answered, come on down to the Kill Pete Strategy Discord, put your questions in the Q&A. They will be answered in priority sequence. Okay. So finishing with the priority Q&A, these are for the boosters of the server. Quarantine would like to know, hey, Pete, how's it going? Well, thank you. How are you? Hope this question finds you a good time, and it's a weird one. My favorite kind are the weird ones. I'm pretty young compared to a lot of the other active and most of the prominent people in this community. Having joined when I was 17, when most of the people here I meet are in their late 20s or late 30s, we got a gamut. I think I skew in the top quintile. I skew quite old, relatively. He says, I've met a lot of great people and love it, but I also sometimes feel the generational divide when making conversation. I feel this might be even heavier with most people my age when entering the community. Do you believe the community needs to appeal to the younger generation to maintain a steady stream of new players, or do you think it's appealing exactly to who it needs to? Right now, our community is small and niche. As a person who's interested in growing our community, I'm not going to try and make it something it isn't. So I like for it to be as welcoming as possible. And that means for people of all ages and every other possible way you could divide people. As far as the generational divide when making conversation, I think there are two things that are salient. The first is that as a 17-year-old, you're young, and you likely, if you haven't heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect, look it up, but you likely are extremely overconfident in what you believe to be true, and your model of the world, right, is very incomplete. Now, that's not to say that my model of the world is complete. My model of the world is just probably twice as likely to be correct as yours, because I've lived twice as long. Okay? There's a big caveat with your model and a big caveat with my model. I've just had more time to fine tune it. But we're both certainly wrong about all sorts of things. So the generational divide is part that, part, the wisdom of age, or whatever you want to think about it. But the other thing too is that if you grew up with the internet always being a thing, a 17-year-old was born in 2005. Okay, I was born in 1983. So I got to experience the personal computer, the cell phone, and the internet come into existence and then merge into this device that fits in my pocket and acts as an extension of my brain. Okay, my brain formed at a time when that wasn't so. So my brain acts like a lot more like a hard drive, which is why I have a great memory and I'm great at Jeopardy. And someone who's much younger, their minds tend, at least from my vantage point, to operate a lot more like RAM. They have the ability they prioritize the ability to access at the cost of storage, because you've always had access to all of the information that you've ever needed. Right? So in an environment where you always have the answer to any question you could possibly ask, why store anything? Right? But the point I'm simply trying to make, or not very simply, is the difference between the two things is quite wide. So the way younger people's minds tend to be structured strikes me as foreign. And I identify a lot with how my parents' generation, right, thinks versus even 20 years. My parents are 30 years older than me, but people like 20 years younger than me, as an example, right, tend to think fundamentally differently than I. And that's okay, right? It's okay if we have an ethic of inclusion, right? There's a place in this community for everyone. I still love you no matter who you are, no matter what you believe, right? As long as you're respectful. And Quarantine says, I'm 18 now, feeling not nearly confident enough to be an adult. Well, you don't get to choose it, right? You are what you are. You will come into your adult life, and hopefully you will discover the world to be true for you. Discover that truth, and hopefully you will find your voice as I have. And it took me a long time. So to sit here and to say that I love myself, that I am happy with who I am, and that I've found my voice by doing this work with all of you guys is an absolute blessing. And that's why I say it again and again. I'm so happy to be here. Okay? Thank you all for being a part of this with me. You mean a ton to me. Great question. Phil says, going to the library and looking through a card catalog, finding a book, looking at the table of contents, and skimming through the pages, hoping to find the data. Yeah, Phil, this is how Phil and I, as children, had to learn what was true and what was real. And you guys have such an abundance of information that the true skill now is not in the seeking, it's the filtering for relevance, right? You're inundated with info. Penny says, I'm 35, basically a man-child. I was a man-child at 35. The last 5 years of my life have been absolutely formative, transformative. I credit my experience with ayahuasca and psychedelics for helping me finally heal through what might be generations of emotional trauma. I credit, the process that ultimately led me to getting divorced, becoming who I am, becoming true to myself. The process of finding my voice with this work. It's all self-reflective. And of course, having a mentor in one of my best friends who showed me that I was lying to myself basically all the time. In that simple question, why do you hate yourself, Pete? Oh man, why do I? It's a fun one to dig into, but a necessary one, folks. What are you saying, Johnny? See my comment above. What's up, buddy? Pete, you looking pretty jacked. Thanks, the real Neptunio. Welcome to the stream first time, chatter. I don't know how jacked, but I'm in okay shape, man. Johnny says, what do you say that your generation is generally test takers and not pathfinders? Test takers and not pathfinders. My generation? I don't know. I don't know what you're saying, dude. Anyways, next question. Q&A. Okay, so our next question is from Crackle, I think. Did we not do this one? Crackle says, Pete, you're known around the world now as the cottage cheese and maple syrup guy off the top of your head. What would you consider your top 3 food and drink pairings? Oh my God. Pairing. Like weird, like out there pairings. One of my favorite things is potato chips on pizza. If you guys haven't tried this, the crunch and the salty, oh baby. Have you ever got water plus Korean barbecue meats? Yes, that's a good one. Ew, what? No, don't knock until you try it, S. Miller. So I got this idea in my head first at pizza day at school, and we would get like maybe 1 or 2 little slices of pizza and a little bag of chips. Like lift the cheese and I put the chips under the cheese, and then it was so nice and crunchy. But like if you can like crumble it on top of the pizza, trust me, dude. Again, do not knock this till you try it, ladies and gentlemen. Potato chip pizza, I shit you not. I can think of other weird food combinations, but we'll go through. Yeah, Becky's right. Korean barbecue and water is a beautiful pairing. Just all the meat. Oh. Danny says, I would love to hear you delve a little deeper into your experience with ayahuasca at some point. It changed my life. Yeah, it changed mine too, Danny. Awesome. That's something we can bro fist over the internet on. Changed my life too, my friend. Yeah, well, hey, again, I would encourage you all, guys, if you want me to expound on anything long form, throw the questions in the Q&A thread, and I promise I will get to it when I have time. Our next question is from Vidar. You need an apprentice, I need a mentor. Just saying, Vidar, that's not a question. But if I am thought of as a mentor to anyone, I do feel truly honored that I am able to even benefit your life in the smallest way possible, right? It's a burden I don't take lightly. Our next question is from Byron. Pete, with someone who only has the use of one hand, what strategy would you recommend? Depending on if you can click enter, I think PC would be way better than mobile. Depending on, again, I don't know, if just one hand, like how much do you have the arm? Do you have, it's hand is one thing, but do you have the access? Like, can you click, right? Where is my ex was a occupational therapist, so we often talked about all sorts of different ways that people could be disabled in that regard, right? You could not have fingers, you could have not, what joints are missing, right? You could not have your wrist, you could have not have your elbow, you could not have your arm at all. How far are we going, right? So simply asking me with only one hand doesn't give me enough to work with. But there was a gentleman in my YouTube, I always like to talk about this. There was a gentleman in my YouTube comments who spoke about making GM using an eye tracker, right? So he is quadriplegic. He's no hands, no legs, just eye. Got to GM. And that is absolutely super fucking cool, right? That's dope. Exactly. Super fucking cool. Ayahuasca is both DMT and an MAOI. Okay, so it has the monoamine oxidase inhibitor, which limits the reuptake of the DMT by your brain. Normally, DMT is very short acting, but the MAOI keeps it in there for a couple of hours, so you really do, face the spirit realm. Or I'm not going to try and get too spiritual or pseudoscientific because I know that doesn't resonate with everyone, and particularly this crowd, right? We are very analytical people, but when I say that I am still a spiritual guy, and I saw, ayahuasca is treated with reverence. It's grandmother medicine. And the spirit of your grandmother is sometimes kind, sometimes gentle, sometimes firm, right? If she's trying to teach you something that you need to know, smack some sense into you, boy. And I got a little of both, I would say. So, again, we could talk about that in great, great detail if you ask me a specific question. Monkey Blaster would like to know, hey, Pete, what are your thoughts? What were your thoughts when you saw your video explode to over 1 million views? Wow. Never would have thought, right? I didn't come into this process thinking I was going to be successful at it. So the fact that I become gradually more and more successful at it is kind of surreal, kind of strange. I'm grateful, right? I feel super lucky and blessed and grateful. But always a little imposter syndrome. What do I do that makes me worthy of that many people? Like, guys, let's just look at the stats for right now. We go to the channel. We go to Lifetime. My current view count is 17.4 million. And my watch hours are 6 million watch hours, okay? So if we do some quick math, you guys, I think this will resonate with you guys. So we're going to do some quick math. So how many hours are in a year? There's 24 hours in a day. There's 365.25 days in a year. There's 8,766 hours in a year, okay? Multiply that by 40. I have been alive for 350,640 hours. Now, for easy figuring, if we take 6 million and we divide it by 350,000, we get 17, a multiple of 17 with a remainder. So, people have listened to me talk 17 times the length I have been alive. That's crazy. That is absolutely bizarre. That I would have that kind of impact, that it would resonate with people, that I would be able to be worthy of that much of someone else's life, even the tiny piece, okay? So to answer your question, how did I feel? Humbled. 1 million views? It's so big. Those numbers are so big. It's crazy. I know, guys. It's absolutely incredible. How do you attack with my hands off? Nice analogy. Oh, that's where we're going. And yes, and Johnny's right. It doesn't even include Twitch, so it's even more than that. I felt humbled, Monkey Blaster. Okay, next one is from Bagel. Pete, would you consider playing some real-time strategy games such as StarCraft 2 Total Annihilation or the new spiritual successor Bar Beyond All Reason? I played when I was a kid Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, StarCraft 1. So those are the RTS games that I can play some StarCraft. I like StarCraft. I enjoyed this StarCraft. All right, we got another question from Byron. Is there a list of tournaments anywhere and where do they start? This is why we've been doing a bunch of promos. So right now we are, as of the filming of this video, we are in week 3 of Grandmasters Tournament Season 9. We are in week 2 of the inaugural Kill Pete Open, which is just such another incredible blessing. We are in week 5 of the Risk World Championship Season 2 2023, and there will be signups for the 1v1 tournament. There will be signups for anything and everything. Signups. People come to me and say, hey, Pete, will you help me promote? And I always do. Doing some promo videos on Free Pete, sometimes community posts. Keep in touch with the community, keep in touch with my channels, and I will always promo things when signups open. Okay? Okay. Pete! Yes, you have much gay. No, you have much gay. How you doing? What a great Twitch name. You get in trouble for that one though, don't you? Okay. I'm in the floor says, howdy, sir. Is that all you said? Howdy, I'm in the floor. Our next question is from Yummy Uranium. Hey, Pete, can you explain the rationale behind when it is correct to card skip in progressive? I have to have done a video on this, right? Have to have done a video on this? Let's see. We go to content and we search for card skip. What do we come up with? Yeah, there's a couple. There's Back to Basic 6, when is it okay to card skip? There's Does Pete get mad over card skipping? There's the card skip scene around the world. Check some of those out, and I will do a much better job explaining it instead of explaining what I've said already. Lol, I made this account when I was 12. I hope I do understand. That's why I'm laughing. I think it's a funny Twitch name. Are you likely to be around next Saturday for the World Cup draw? Maybe. This Saturday? Depends on what you mean this Saturday, next Saturday. I have a date with Kyle on Saturday. We're going to play Magic Cards. I don't know if Kyle's still watching, but he asked me to come up and gay. You're gay. No, we've It's not in the hot tub. It's in a LGS. We're going to be playing in person. Yeah, we're going to be playing in the Lord of the Rings pre-release. Hot, very so hot. Why not get it streamed? Who's going to film it, Drew? You? Come on down. You're still close by. Hop in a car. You'll get here real quick. Missed opportunities, right? Our next question is from Carolus Rex. Is it more advantageous to accept the risk of being late in the turn order to get a chance to have more troops? It's such a high risk, high reward style strategy. So, the fundamental crux of this question, is it advantageous to be later in the turn order or earlier? In what seat would you choose to be? Would you choose to be early? Are you an aggressive player? Do you lean aggressive to try and make somewhat riskier kills? Or do you lean passive? I lean a bit more passive compared to some top players because I win more of my games by people making mistakes and me making just less. But that is very much a style thing. And it's more of an art than a science. So what do you like as opposed to what is correct? The way you asked it, is it more advantageous? I think it really depends on how you like to play risk. I'm passive compared to, guys like Curlza, maybe even Kyle, right? Like Kyle likes to fucking really push the action. I like to lean back a bit more comparatively. I haven't seen Arco. Well, no, then they are. Then Arco would be a little bit further onto the other end, right? On the passive end, right? There was a spectrum even amongst top guys. Drew, you want us to film Magic pre-release in public in a game store that we don't necessarily have permission to. I mean, I'd be down to shoot it, but shooting an IRL Magic game would require what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cameras. Like, it's a lot. Nerd convention recording session. Let's go. Anyways, guys, our next question is from Inappropriate Kooky. How you doing, Kook? Hi, Pete. Ever wanted to play GeoGuessr with another YouTuber like Rainbolt? No. I really enjoy how I play it now. I'm sure Rainbolt, but isn't Rainbolt like one of those god tier GeoGuessr players? Look, I'm down to collab. Don't get me wrong. I just don't have this desire to do so. I don't feel like, right, because I didn't grow up with this medium, I never looked at it as something aspirational. So I'm down to explore this. Rainbolt can find your address with a picture of your lawn. Sick. Yeah, exactly. Probably doesn't even need to see a road. He's just like a god tier GeoGuessr player, eh? That sounds sick, man. Yeah, I would love to do that. Of course I would. All right, our next question is from McKenna Blintz. McKenna representing Team Canada in the Risk World Cup. Why is the Asia continent avoided in almost all game stages? This is in Classic Map Global Dom. I noticed that in most of your videos. Simply. So one of the things about free-for-all is, one of the basic fundamental principles of free-for-all games is if they're fair and equal, 2 players should be able to kill you, 1 player, all the time. The thing about Asia is Asia's so OP that by taking it, you're saying a couple of things. You're kind of, it's a raise, right? It's a bluff call. It's like, you're going to break me? You're going to let me just win? Right? Because it's so big, it's so impactful at 7 troops that even 1 or 2 turns of an Asia hold can be absolutely game winning. So if you want to just let the person holding Asia win, sure, you let them hold Asia. But more often, people don't want to just let you win, right? So taking the Asia is a bluff that is forced to be called. It says, I'm going to win the game now. You're going to stop me? And then, of course, they're stopped. Of course, they're stopped. So what you want to do with Classic Fixed is you want to be a little slicker than that, right? You want to take Asia when it's too late for anyone to stop you, sort of thing. Our next question is from Demetrios. Sorry if you wanted an answer specifically from Pete, but I think it's because it's difficult to hold down. Demetrios is answering my questions for me in my Q&A thread. Thank you, Demetrios. Our next question is from Obi Dose. Why are my so many people with their name ... What is this, Kyle? Your name is like that in my Discord. Why is it changed? You guys in some sort of protest or what the hell is happening? This one's from Obi Dose. Good day, Mr. Peteman. Given how the current ranked meta, Not only you have massive benefit to caps, but also being an expert at one setting. Do you think it's advantageous to target and try to quickly eliminate the person who set up the lobby? No. I mean, all things being equal, you can have a bias to lean towards trying to defeat the person who set up the game, because it's more likely that they will know what they're doing on the settings. But I never advocate throwing your own game to throw someone else's. Always play to win, and take every piece of data that you have available to you as simply a piece of data. So if you want to target the host of the game, make sure it's not at your own expense, basically. Make sure it's in line with a strategy that leads you to the victory. Like in a game I played earlier in the thread that in the stream that I don't think makes it to YouTube. I was chugging along there in Reverse World, and I just made a kill, and the red player just made a kill, and then he sets and just totally bombs all of his troops into me. So we were in essentially a 3-player end game, and he just completely lets the third guy have it all. So, you know, I didn't even host that, or I did host. So that could be an example of that. He's like, well, maybe Pete knows what he's doing. I should kill him, right? Well, okay. Now I guess we both lose. But he didn't win the game either, right? So no, not a winning strategy. Make other people's lose, as a general rule. Okay. Our next question is from Cauliflower. Pete, how tall are you? I'm 6 feet. Gurney Mutton Chop would like to know if the Earth was split to 3 portions: North America, South America, Europe, Africa, and Asia, Australia, and these 3 sides went to war, who would win? We talking Risk? Or we talking world? Is this a geopolitical question? Or is this a Risk strategy question? I can't tell. If it's a Risk strategy question, obviously the Asia, Australia position is the best because it generates the most, and you can still guard it on 3 positions. Two interior, 1 exterior, and you know that all assumes that you get it, of course. And then the Europe Africa position out generates the North America South America position, I think, by 1, but don't quote me on that because we're not doing the math in our head. Okay. Our next question is from 4LK. What is your favorite food? Crab legs. Not something you can eat every day, but something you love once or twice a month at the most. Yeah, crab legs. I love crab legs. I love the experience, the tactile sort of, very, very much with your hands. I don't usually like to eat with my hands too. I tend to really dislike that, but something about the crab's legs, I'm nostalgic to it. I remember being a kid, you know, going on vacation with my family to the sea. I've always loved seafood, but crab legs specifically. What beard products do I use? I can show you, actually. Hang on a sec. I'll show you what beard products I use. It's called Blackstone Beard Oil. So, you know, I shave my face. I do the sides of my head and the sides of my beard the same length with clippers. And then I shave my neck and just a little bit on the top with a razor. And then I do scissors on the beard itself. And then I just use regular shave gel. And then to finish, Blackstone Beard Oil. So that's the process. And I know people would love to do like a grooming stream or something. But I'm not yet comfortable putting the camera on with my shirt off. I hope you guys can appreciate that. Okay. Our next question is from Waffles. Hey, Pete, if you could be on a podcast with any famous streamer, say one with 1 million plus followers or subs or more, who would you pick? Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is the most successful interviewer in human history by size of audience. I would most obvious. How do I like that oil? A lot. Why? You got a suggestion? You got something better? I like that oil a lot. But yeah, Joe Rogan for sure, 100%. It would be tremendously advantageous for me personally just to get the show out there, to get it be more popular. But also, I think he's a fairly interesting dude, and I'd like to talk to him. Another one from Waffles. Hey, Pete, how big actually is the summer business you're looking to sell? Do you have like multiple vehicles and stuff? Is it one Chad show? Are you both literally and metaphorically a boss? Like, do you have minions that work for you? Okay, so my story with business, Waffles, is I got my company up to be we serviced 450 houses-ish a week. I had 8 employees, 5 pickup trucks, and I downsized all of that to working alone with no employees. Sold off most of it. Gratefully, I was able to sell off most of it and not just have it evaporate. And right now, I'm ending my career mowing 34 lawns a week. I expect this to be my last summer. I have no desire to do any more snow plowing. I would like to sell my remaining pickup truck with a plow, all my remaining heavy mowers, my trailer, my clients, and just put together enough money to hopefully get close to clearing what I finally owe to help pay off my ex's portion of the home so I don't have to move. That's the thought. Okay. McKenna Blintz would like to know, how do I unlock ranked play? It says to play 3 games. I've played more than that without unlocking it. You have to play, what's it called? 3, you play just three casual games against a bot, right? I think it doesn't work if you're playing Play with Friends. You have to play against the bot or something. It's been a long time since I opened a new account, so solo. Noob says solo. You have to play 3 solo games to unlock ranked play. But I'm sure you've played ranked by now. This question was asked a while ago. Okay. Our next question is from L Martinez 8. Hey Pete. Just curious on your outlook on death. Do you think we are reborn, or is it all over like the flip of a switch? Something of us persists in terms of patterns of matter and energy. So do I believe in life after death? No. I think we kind of I think we return to the oneness from whence we came. If that makes any sense. And it probably doesn't make a ton of sense, but the fact that we die is the thing that gives life meaning, right? It's the thing that makes you feel like you matter, like your decisions matter, like they're important. When I put it all the way back on capital, hey, that's a slick move. All the way back on capital. That's beautiful. I'm in a great position. Yeah, good work, Pete. Good work, former Pete. Win this game. Thomas Smith says we were all Stardust and we will return to it. Yeah, and that's why I like to focus on love. I like to focus on unity. We are all one energy and matter together. We're all one soup of molecules, right? We only appear to be distinct and separate. And rhetoric that exists to separate and results in separation is ultimately tragic, right? It's so sad that we cannot speak about unity. Geekite says, consciousness being an emergent property of the brain. Once brain shuts down, so do we. Yeah, well, some of us persists, right? Maybe some of our genes persist in our children. Some of our impact persists. If we've maybe put out some love into the world, hopefully it stays. Okay. And where was I? I just lost my place because I got a DM. Gotta love the Discord. Death. Tricky one. Is it all over like a flip of a switch? For us, in an embodied sense, I think, yeah. But in an ultimate sense, no. Right? Because we are not so distinct in our body. There's more to the story. Okay, our next question is from General Sakuma. Hey, Pete, I was just wondering if you consider waiting on your best behavior on Spotify. No, I don't. I haven't considered it, but you tell me why. You tell me why to do it. Sell it to me and I'll do it. Or maybe ask someone to help me because I'm a total noob. Okay. Our next question is from Waffles again. Hey, Pete, I just watched a couple videos with you in parlox sparring. I was wondering what that sneaky little bastard did that stuck in your brain enough to lead you to start semi-regularly playing with it. I love parlox. Parlox is one of my very favorite people. I've always loved parlox. He was one of the first guys to reach out to me when I was new to Discord. We became great friends. I think we've worked together very successfully over the years. I think he is somewhat misunderstood. And as I say, one of my very favorite people. Absolutely love the guy. Talks a lot of smack with the best of them, but that's all in good fun. So nothing bad to say. And super creative too, like a brilliant young man. Hey, Amped is here. How you doing, bud? What's cracking? Will you say parlox sucks? No, parlox says I suck, and I dish it out in fun ribbing in reverse. Our next question is from Ragnar Khan. Hey, Pete, what do you think of boundaries and threats as form of communication in the real world, as opposed to in specific Risk games? I think that because we can play as many games of Risk as we want, intra-game boundaries and threats, brackets, communicating the conditions under which you will suicide this game, not necessarily between games, frequently serve to give others the attacker's advantage, whereas it's different IRL because we only get one life to live. What are your thoughts? I think what you're talking about is the principle of mutually assured destruction and the difference as how it applies to games versus life. The example, the obvious easy example is nuclear war. So we currently have the power to destroy ourselves completely via nuclear war. We don't. We choose not to. And that's lovely to know because, as you say, right, with nuclear war, with mutually assured destruction, you only get one. So far we've been able to avoid our own mutually assured destruction. But in the context of games, an iterated series of games, what you're talking about is game theory. And game theory is, effectively a form of philosophy. And you guys know I love talking about that. So if you want to ask anything specific, boundaries and threats, I mean, I operate, and I try to operate extremely, extremely consistently such that you guys have a player, a person, a gamesman who you know you can count on, who is always consistent, who's always the same. I'm always going to play my best. I'm never going to lie, right? I'm never going to give up that equity, that power of negotiating. What else am I consistent about? I've often thought that you could code the way I play like an AI. $120 stack. This guy trying to card block me. Who is this guy trying to card block me? Get out of here. All right, our next question is from Open. Tanya. Open would like to know, hey, Pete, are there any other board games you like to play other than Risk? There's a game called Hero Quest, which is like Dungeons and Dragons light for kids. I played Hero Quest when I was a child, and I loved it. And, if people are around and familiar with it, I'd be down to play it again. But, as far as the time investment that goes into setting up a board, I'll play Magic the Gathering. I like Cube. I like Commander. I like Draft and Sealed. I don't play any sort of 60-card Magic these days. But that would be more IRL, something I do at the table, not a board game. Okay. Phil says, Hero Quest, I forgot about that. Yeah, dude, you played? That would be awesome. Did I get the updated? I should, before it becomes super expensive. That's actually a good thing to remind myself. Hero Quest. I should buy all this. How expensive is it? Amazon. Like $200? I should buy this. $200. Who cares? Ooh, they got quest packs too. I got to buy all the quest packs. Now we're talking more than $200. Oh boy. See, this is the rabbit hole you go down. It's like, do I buy this shit? Would I even play it? Would I even open it? Okay. Our next question is from Reynold Asmodeus. Hey, Pete. When playing Risk in person, how do you decide to deploy your troops at the start? Does everyone do the lump sum in one go, or you take turns like Manuel does in the video game? We do a variation. So what we do is we do the lump sum with a free take back. So my group of friends has enough respect of each other and enough respect of each other's time to say, this is what I'm thinking about doing, unless, and then if someone's like, I'm going to change based on that, you say, okay. And then we all go final answer. We go, okay, final answer. And we get it done very efficiently. So we do a version of semi-auto setup. I deal out all the cards, and you place a single troop on each territory that you've been dealt. So your territory selection is auto, and then your troop placement is manual. That's how we've always done it at the board. We do semi-auto. Sounds like a cool group. Yeah, I love my friends. My friends are very important to me. I try and show them that. You know, I invested in, for the longest time, I thought I wasn't going to have a family. So I really tried to invest a lot of my energy into maintaining these friendships. And you guys can totally see me, because I do love people, right? So you can totally see me caring a lot about my friendships and just learning about these people and watching them grow over the course of our lives, right? Becoming more weird and interesting and strange and unique people. Just get all the Risk girls. There aren't any out. Not at my table. Someone asked me earlier, it's like, your ex-wife is so lucky. She got to play strategy games with you. And I was like, she never once played a strategy game with me in fucking 12 years. So, wasn't meant to be. My family does it the same way. Amazing way to do it. It's just the most efficient way to do it, right? Just the most efficient way to do it. Our next question is from the Red Apple. Hey, Pete, are you looking for love, or are you at the state in life where you're just waiting for love to find you? I don't think those two things are different. I think you might be talking about it in terms of partnership, but like, as far as love goes, I'm experiencing love constantly. Like, I'm hanging out with hundreds of my friends right now, just having a conversation, and I feel that love, right? That means something to me. It's important to me. You guys are important. You matter. And that is very much love. So am I looking for that? Yeah, I'm looking to expand my ability to have this conversation, my ability to be positively impactful to the world, positively impactful to the individuals I'm talking to. Guys, come on, if we all chip in, we can get Pete a stripper. Are you kidding me? I can pay for my own professional nudity. Thank you very much, sir. I'm gonna get some boobies in my face. Oh, hell yeah. You guys are hilarious. I'm not one to shy away from professional nudity, folks. Not in the least. Okay. Our next question is from Grubby the Gooner. Hey, Pete, what would be your advice to a university student in their first year of a degree in terms of work-life balance? I think that very much depends on your degree. Soak it up, man. First year university, as Bill Burr says, you're drafted in the first round. Get out there. Experience what life has to offer. Have a ton of fun. School, sure, kind of matters, I guess, but I think you're in a situation where you have a ton of fun to experience, and I'm envious, to be honest. I never went away to school, right? No, I saved all my money. I never went into debt, and I was able to pay to buy a house. I didn't need student loans. Was able to work while I was in school, but those trade-offs living at home, right? I missed out on the sort of the fun party that school is. So as far as work-life balance goes, you'll figure out what your ideal is. But right now is probably more the time to have fun than the time to work hard, because you can work hard in your adult life, but you only get that college experience once. So soak it up. Did you know about money? I know a little bit about money. What's my stance on taxes? I mean, some taxation is probably necessary. I'm not a pure libertarian. Chaz says, I have a request to raid out after today's stream. Would you be able to raid a brand new? They created a wrist channel. We're Iski Landon. They're really nice to me after my elimination. I'd love, although I know that you'd actually be the one doing it, to help them get to a great start. Interesting. Are they on? Are they on, Mr. Chad? Let's see. Pete, when will the second season be for your tournament? I missed the first one. We don't know yet. We don't know yet. All right, link me. We can do that. We're currently in our first season, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. We hope it's successful. Just for you, Chad. Nobody else gets away with this. So you know, nobody else gets away with this. Yes, Empt? What's up? Why is this a pre-recorded game? Have you just tuned in? Do you understand what I'm doing right now? Have you seen any of my Q&A shows? What about the upcoming Kill to Dude Fiesta Invitational? Is there going to be? Pete is rolling in cash. We could put yeah, get me to put up another 1,500. Trying to automate the content. No, I'm doing Q&A, right? So in order to focus on answering the questions and give that 100% of my cognitive ability, I am, pre-recording the gameplay that we can talk about things that aren't the gameplay. And so I can finally catch up on some of these Q&As because we're currently in, we've made it to May. We've made it to questions in May. And that was what I got for you, Grubby the Gooner. As far as work-life balance in university. Our next question is from Afro Ninja. What are some philosophy and history books you recommend? I heard you answer a Solzhenitsyn as a Jeopardy answer. Have you read Gulag Archipelago? No. Translated Russian sounds horrible. I have a reading disability, I would say. So what I like as far as books, I like listening to them via Audible. I recommend Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. What other philosophy books spoke to me? Sapiens, more of a history book. I liked both 12 Rules for Life. I thought they were very resonant. It's more out of the self-help category, the psychology category, personal psychology. Philosophy books. Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius Meditations. History books. Yeah, you did ask for history. Okay, so think about Sapiens. I'll shout out Yuval's work. So Yuval Noah Harari is a professor of medieval history by specialty at Hebrew University in Jerusalem. I read Sapiens, which focuses on a very comprehensive story of us, of our species, from the beginning of our species until the modern day. And then his second book, Homo Deus, focuses on the future. And his third book, 21 Solutions for the 21st Century, focuses on the present. So he goes past, future, present. And it's, after reading Sapiens, listening to one of the few books that I immediately read the rest of the author's work. And I loved all three books, but I think Sapiens is a masterpiece. So that's where I would start. If you like Yuval Harari's work, then read Homo Deus and 21 Solutions for the 21st Century after that. Sapiens is such a good book. Yeah, dude, I love it too. I love it too, man. M says, I'm taking a gap year in university next year instead of going to university, try to work on becoming self-employed. You run your own businesses, and I was wondering if you had any advice, kind of get my income from a lot of different places. I do have advice. So a lot of people think of business as something that could be taught. I don't really think there is a skill known as business per se. I think a lot of being successful at business comes down to a very simple principle of saying you're going to do a thing, doing the thing, similar to how I try to embody this sort of like honest persona, honest, direct approach in life. I try to embody that in business, right? How am I going to mow your lawn? Did you read the contract? Exactly that way, right? We're going to show up exactly like we say we will. We're going to do exactly what we say we're going to do. And we're going to charge exactly what we say we're going to charge. No more, no less. So no surprises, right? And that's the principle you want to follow for any business. The overpromise, underdeliver thing, sure, you could try and exceed expectations if you're feeling frisky. But realistically, just doing exactly what you say you're going to do is going to put you far and away ahead of other people in business most of the time. So that's my sort of spiel on being self-employed. Do you have any productivity tips? Well, necessity is the mother of invention there. I couldn't afford to fail. So why do you guys see me work all the time? Because I'm self-employed. And I hate the idea of being poor. I haven't been poor in a long time because I've worked very hard in my life. And that's not to discount all the privileges as well, right? My living with my parents until my late 20s, never moving out, never leaving Toronto, which I'm starting to get real sick of as far as the fucking winter. Don't smoke weed? Yeah, weed never really agreed with me. I'm more of a booze guy. But yeah, I found my one of my lowest years mood-wise was when I was consuming cannabis on a daily basis. But no judgment, right? Like different people have different relationships with substances. I like psychedelics a lot. I'm much more friendly to alcohol. I even enjoy nicotine, although thankfully I don't get terribly addicted to it. But yeah, cannabis never really spoke to me. Cannabis was more of a I'm going to go to bed now type of thing. Come to France. Yeah, I'd love to check it out. I haven't been to France yet, but Mata says, I feel like business is the combination of psychology, economics, and mathematics. Well, it's funny because when I was in school, I focused exclusively on philosophy. But now I think if I was going to go back to school, I would take econ and psych courses because they are sort of the practical applications of philosophy. And I do math intuitively. So I'm not, as you guys can see, right? I'm pretty good with my intuition for math, but when you actually try and get me to explain the ways in which the numbers work, I just fall flat, right? And that's why we say we defer to Kyle in some ways for the math thing, because that's what his brain is really good at. And like, I'm a language guy, I'm a words guy, I'm a people guy, and like, that's cool too. It's cool to have a variety of really smart people doing work for you, putting together all of this really awesome community. How do I win this game? This game has been going on for so long, this crazy 1v1, me versus Orange. Do I finally outsmart him or something? Do I cap run? I wonder. Okay, our next question is from Molly. And Molly would like to know, Pete, I'm curious to know if there are any conspiracy theories that you find particularly credible, even if others may find them controversial. I love controversy. Don't get me wrong about that. P.S. Really enjoying the stream. Okay, so the problem with the framing of the question, the problem with the idea of conspiracy theories is the implication that, the arrogant implication that people out there are somehow conspiring against you. The reason that implication is arrogant is because it presumes that you matter and are important to people who have no vested interest in your existence at all. So the real scary truth from my perspective is that the world is probably rudderless and nobody's in charge. So the absence of a conspiracy is actually the scarier reality, right? That not only does nobody really give a shit about you, but the world, there's nobody running the show. There's a bunch of really powerful people bumping into each other, and then you experiencing the downstream effects of their decisions. That's certainly true. But the extent to which any of those decisions are insidious or focused on trying to manipulate or coerce you in a way that would be outside of their vested interest, all you have to do is follow the money, right? Follow why people would want to make the decisions they've made, Do I good game him? Oh, because I have a set. I think I got this guy now. The world is rudderless, folks. And hopefully my voice can be one that helps us build a system of decision making where we can come together and try and solve some of our really complicated problems without this ridiculous polarized us versus them fight getting in the way constantly. Right? Look at systems design. Look at the way we are governed. Look at the way our economy functions. Look at the way our environment functions. Take stock of our resources, manage them wisely, take care of each other, love each other. He botted. Ha! He botted. That's a GG, ladies and gentlemen. Turtle TNS. Hey, Pete. Wanted to ask you about your concept of enough. I'm 23 and I don't find myself with drive to make as much money as possible. I love to travel and eat, so I just kind of work so I can do both of those things, pay my student loans, go USA, but I find that a lot of my peers are desperate to climb some ladder and consume more. How do you define enough? Brilliant question. Do you see any downsides in not wanting more? So, me defining and deciding what enough was a very important piece of my life. It was important for me to grow to a place where I made that definition. It was important for my own well-being, my own feeling of self-love, my own understanding of myself to say, this is what I have, what I need. I could achieve more. Of course, once you start thinking about children, your ceiling becomes infinite. But just figuring out what enough was for me and no longer running on that hamster wheel, as you say, is an absolutely important point, because I was torturing myself trying to get more clients, right? Have more revenue. I wasn't even making any more money. I had I gave myself mild scoliosis, right? I bent my spine a little bit from working in a differentiated position for so many years. I was drinking every day. I was like miserable, and I was so miserable I didn't even realize it. So yeah, short answer, yeah. Figuring out how much enough is super essential. Very important thing to figure out. But I will say, save some room for future you, because I'm really, really grateful that I always worked hard enough to never have to worry about being poor. Never really have to worry. I don't worry a lot in my life. I'm pretty much worried. I'm a very happy guy these days, right? I live well. I live comfortably. I'm extremely blessed. I want for nothing. But because the clock ticks and we slowly die, we slowly reach that end, making sure you have enough for you now isn't the same thing as making sure you have enough for yourself later. So just take care and bear in mind for future you that there's going to be times in your life where you might need more resources. So squirreling them away now when you're strong and young is probably wise, because what's enough for you might change, and you might be responsible for other people or responsible to other people or both. And one of my scariest questions, and one of the things I'd like to end on, is at the end of our lives, what if we are offered a life extension technology, or our loved ones are, that we might not be able to afford? Does that change what your definition of enough is? That's a tricky one, and we'll linger on that, folks, because this looks like the end of the game. I've been streaming for... what are we at? I've been streaming for 3.5 hours, almost 4 hours. I'm getting tired. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to me. Alkos with the resub. Thank you. Thank you, Xanifer, with the prime. Thank you, Chad, for the 500 bits. Thanks for the raid about 8 months ago. Your next raidee reminds of me 8 months ago. Really? Okay, we seeing himself in them. Defeating a master, an expert, a beginner, and a novice, folks. That's the end of this video for today. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate you. If you want more Q&A, boosters get priority. Boosters on the server, so come on down to the Kill Pete Strategy Discord. If you're boosting the server, you get priority access to the questions. If you have any questions for me, throw them in the Q&A chat. They will be answered. I appreciate you. I love you folks. For all of you on the path to world domination, good games and good luck.